Welcome to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am thrilled to have you join me on this transformative journey. You see, every day we dive into a powerful conversation about self-discovery, healing, and empowerment. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself is the first step to living a fulfilling life. You can expect insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories. Plus, we'll occasionally welcome special guests who will share their unique perspectives on self-love and personal growth. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's embark on this journey together. Because it's time to embrace the beautiful person that you are. So let's elevate our lives one episode at a time. Now let's get started. All right, my beautiful people. Well, welcome back to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I'm your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am so thrilled to have you here for this special Wisdom Wednesday episode. And as you know, this year is all about transformation. It is the year of rebirth. And this month of February, we are focusing on cultivating self-compassion. Well, today we are diving into the heart of what it means to embrace self-compassion with my amazing guest, Miss Arlene Cohen Miller. Arlene is a wellness expert, a breathwork facilitator, and an advocate of self-care. She's here to share her incredible insights on transforming our inner critic, the power of gratitude, and how to use breathwork to heal and love ourselves more deeply. But before we dive into this powerful conversation, I want to remind you about our Year of Rebirth workbook. It's free to download and it's packed with tools to support you in your journey of self-love and growth. And you can find that link in our show notes and on our website. All right, so before we get into this topic, let's take a quick break. All right, it's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, here on the Season of Self-Love podcast, and we'll be right back.
Washington Wellness Institute focuses on healing always. For me, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, then I share the good. If I share the good, then I celebrate the good. If I celebrate the good, then I live the good. So I can be paid to be my greatest. But I have to learn the good to be the good.
So, what does it take to be the greatest? It's as simple as a free 15-minute consultation. Be kind to yourself and heal always.
Hey, it's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, and make sure you tune in every Thursday night to Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap podcast, where we talk about everything from love, sex, relationship, cultural differences, and so much more. By bridging the gap between them all. And we even talk about spiritual uplifting. You need to stop by. Me and Dr. Mike, as well as the BTG crew. We have some amazing guests that come through. You never know. Just make sure you tune in Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go to xnyomi.com and tell them Nyomi sent you. All right, my beautiful people, well, welcome back to the Season of Self-Love. Again, I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I'm here with the beautiful Miss Arlene Cohen Miller. Hi.
Hello.
How are you? Yes. I am so excited for this conversation. As I mentioned before, just reading your whole profile and your bio, I was truly excited to have this conversation with you. I think it'd be so amazing. And I'm going to share something with you when we come back from this, from our guided meditation. As I told you before, it's something that we do just to help ground ourselves, to get in, to get us prepared and ready for this conversation. All right. So my beautiful people, if you can just find a comfortable position wherever you are, whether you are sitting or standing, now please close your eyes. And if you feel safe to do so. All right. Take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it for a moment. And exhale slowly through your mouth. Now, as you breathe, I want you to imagine a warm, gentle light surrounding your heart. This light is filled with kindness, love, and understanding just for you. With your next inhale, I want you to allow the light to expand, filling your entire body with compassion and acceptance. Now, as you exhale, I want you to let go of any self-judgment, releasing any tension or harsh words that you have maybe spoken to yourself. Now take one more deep breath in, inviting peace and self-love. And as you exhale, know that you are exactly where you need to be in this moment. And when you are ready, gently bring your awareness back to the room and open your eyes. All right, my beautiful people, again, thank you for just sharing this moment with me. And if you're new here to the Season of Self-Love podcast, it's something that we do every day, Monday through Friday. It's just to help ground us before we get into the topic at hand. Well, Miss Arlene, again, thank you for just being here with us with this. And let's dive right in. You ready?
I'm ready.
Ready? All right, can you start by sharing with what self-compassion means to you and why it is such a vital part of a personal development?
Yeah, well, compassion is like a really high vibration, sacred quality. And when we're compassionate with ourselves, we're being loving, kind, giving, patient. So many other sacred qualities come together. And yeah, I think the main thing that people are taught, I mean, I wasn't, not directly, but I just felt it from the culture that I grew up in, that it was sort of selfish to love ourselves and selfish to fill ourselves up with love. But actually, it's imperative. Because if we're not giving with the overflow of our full cup, it's like overflowing, we're going to be depleted. We're going to get frustrated and angry because we're giving and giving, but we are the ones that need to fill our cup up with that compassion, that kindness, that love. There's all kinds of ways to do it. And when we are, we're coming to life as a whole person. And we don't need things from other people, but we're walking alongside of them. And that creates a whole new experience. It's just really wonderful. And, I think we all are works in progress with that. We're not perfect, but the more we practice, the more it becomes a reality for us.
Yeah, that is so powerful. And I truly understand. One of the biggest barriers of self-compassion is often our inner critic. So yeah. Can you talk about how we can transform that voice into an inner coach?
Yeah. If I could just step back for a minute, but why the heck do we have this inner critic? Well,
Mm,
oftentimes sometimes we learn it from our parents, or we just pick it up ourselves, and it's this underlying thing, maybe genetically throughout society and humanity, that if we criticize ourselves hard enough, then when other people criticize us, it won't bother us that much.
yeah.
But actually, that's a big fat lie, because it just helps to destroy our self-esteem. So we need to be really kind and patient with ourselves if we have an inner critic, because almost everyone does, unless they come into this life as some sort of ascended master and they don't really have to learn lessons. So we have this inner critic, and the cool thing is that we chose it. We chose to have this inner critic to protect ourselves when we didn't have a better way of handling things when we were young. But now that we're an adult and we're this soul and spirit having this human experience, we can make a new choice.
Yeah.
And I think the easiest and simplest way that we can begin to turn that around, and I sort of view it like there's a sailboat going towards the horizon, but it's really off. And in order to make it sort of that setting sun where we're open-hearted and we're grateful for the day, we need to practice, practice, practice working with our inner coach. And I think we all know how to do this, because if I have a really good friend or someone that I love that's coming to me and telling me all the problems and all the ways that I'm talking to myself, and all the things that are going wrong or could go wrong, I would be loving, I would be supportive of them, I would champion them.
Yeah.
If they had their head up a really, really dark place, I might gently, or not so gently, depending on what the situation was, deliver some of that really tough love, but in a kind way so that they could get it. And so we know how to do that. We know how to give that to other people. The simplest way to begin to work with our inner coach is to turn around and start giving it to ourselves. And sometimes that's the most challenging thing for people. It's like, what? So we just have to practice with it, and maybe just even fake it until we make it.
Mm,
And know that, well, what we're doing is we're taking that little kid or that teenager that is our inner critic, and we're saying, I love you. I'm sorry I haven't been here for you. We buckle them up in the back seat of the car and we take over the driver's seat because they really don't know how to do it. They're just the personality. They're not the soul and the spirit that we are. And so that's the first thing that I love people to learn that, oh my gosh, I have it inside of me. I'm going to start practicing with myself.
So, can you give a few techniques on what they can do with the practice?
Yeah. So, I mean, literally, what I would say is that I would start, well, if it was my own best friend or someone that I really loved and they were telling me the story that I'm telling myself, what would I say to them? You know, how would I champion them? You know, because they're telling themselves they're all wrong. Let's say that I'm telling myself that I'm too stupid and that I'm too nervous and tense and irritable to ever be a guest on a podcast show.
Hmm.
So I might say, I might say, Arlene, you know that you've had lots of experience, as an attorney, getting in front of other people and talking. So you already have these skills that you can transfer to someone else. If I had just been a mother, a stay-at-home mom, I might have told myself, you have raised a son. You know how to guide him, how to direct him, how to talk to him when he was younger, and help to um, make him so that he could be the best person he could be. You have experience of being a part of different social groups and different leadership and women's groups where you've gotten up and you've spoken, or you've been on a committee, or you've even, been a part of a chair of a committee. So you have this experience and you're negating your experience. So why don't we turn around and practice? Maybe you can deliver something to me, pretend I'm the podcast host, and see how we go. So, in other words, we take the situation that we're bringing and we sort of bring it back to ourselves and know that we already have all these experiences that we can bring to the table that can help us move forward in this situation. That's our foundation that we already have.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And why I asked you to do that is because a lot of times we need to see things in real time. We need to experience things in real time. It's something that I say here all the time and I share with my audience is that, we get the tools. We get the tools like the world, our life is a big school because we're learning something new every day. So when
Mhm.
we're on these amazing podcasts as either host or guest, and we bring beautiful guests on here with tools, it's just not to highlight or write down. These are actionable steps that you need to use and apply into your daily life. So even you just giving that example of what you might say to yourself, that kind of opens their eyes and their ears a little bit more because it's just not um, topics or points to write down on an outline or anything like that. Like these are actionable steps, and this is how I can do it rather than just trying to figure it out. But again, I thank you for just sharing that in that moment so it can resonate with some people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like, we've all read self-help books and then
Yeah.
we put them down and done nothing with them. And that's why I also really encourage people to, come to podcasts or to come to join a group of like-minded souls that want to accomplish the same thing so you don't feel alone. And
Yeah.
that you can bounce things off of other people and learn from them and they learn from you. Being a lone wolf really doesn't work very well anymore. And we can progress a lot more quickly if we gather together, online or in person with those kind of groups.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So let's talk about gratitude. Let's talk about the role of gratitude. Now, gratitude plays such a big role in our self love. How can we use gratitude practices to cultivate self compassion?
Great. I love that question. What I love to share with people and what I often see is I'll talk about gratitude and people will tell me about their gratitude book and all the things they're writing in it. And that's fine, provided that it's not a mental thing. Because a lot of people make it like a list mental thing and they're not touching their own hearts. Unless we really feel something, it's not real. Feeling is healing. So what I would say to you, it doesn't matter how many things you're grateful for today. If you really feel a couple of things you're truly grateful for, your life is going to begin to change. And it can be so simple. It's like you're walking somewhere down the street and someone looks at you and you look at them and you just have this like moment where there's zinging and it's a really cool energy, or you smile at someone and they smile at you, or you just feel to say something to someone and you can feel them light up, or someone does that for you. We don't have to wait to complete a goal or write a book or be on some podium talking to other people. All these amazing things happen every day. And another mistake that people make is they're waiting for something to be grateful for. And
Mhm.
you already have so many things to be grateful for in your life. The bed you sleep on, I bet it's comfortable. Do you enjoy your hot shower in the morning, or your bath at night? What about the food in your pantry, your refrigerator? When you eat it, do you really love it?
Yes.
There's all those things that we have already manifested for ourselves that we can choose to pay attention to and go, wow, I have this really cool, comfortable chair I got for myself. I love it. All those things, or there's just all these little things. I put on these earrings today, and I have a bunch of them. And I'm like, these just felt right today. All these little things we can be grateful for. And there's all these little moments that happen to us that oftentimes, because we're not fully present and grounding and we're thinking about the next thing we have to
Yeah.
do, we miss that moment to be grateful. So ground, be fully present. I like to pretend I'm a tree. It's like from my high heart, there's this column of light going down my legs, out my feet is these huge roots of light, and I anchor straight away into the heart of the planet. So Gaia, the beautiful being that embodies planet Earth, is heart connected to me, and I'm loving her. So there's all sorts of ways that we can actually choose to be grateful and feel it.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I know you do breath work, and I love that. And that's was something that I wanted to share with you before the new year. I had went on a weekend retreat to the Art of Living, and I learned the sky breathing technique. And I have been that I kind of implement that into my morning routine. Um, and one reason why is because I knew that with breathing techniques, it's a healing process for you. And a lot of people truly don't understand that. Um, can you share how it has helped you release negativity and reconnect with ourselves?
Sure, and I'm happy to share a couple of them if you want me to.
Oh,
But
yes.
what happens is that when we become stressed, when we become anxious, physiologically our bodies change, and this is what you're talking about. We
Mhm,
tend to breathe really short from up here. We even hold our breath, and this
mhm.
tells our body that we're being chased by a bear, and then we need to go into fight or flight response to save our life. So all we have to do, since we're not being chased by bears anymore, maybe if you went to the mountains of Colorado and you tried really hard, you could find a bear, but not going to happen in your day-to-day life. And so, what can we do to bring ourselves physiologically back into that rest and relax mode? And the simplest technique that I love to start people with is that you can do anywhere, anytime, because we all have to breathe or we're going to die, right? Is to breathe in through our nose, breathe out through our nose, and simply have the out breath longer than the in breath.
Mhm.
You can do this while someone's talking, while you're driving the car, while you're tying your kids' shoelaces. You can do this anywhere, anytime. And you're just like, you don't even have to make a noise with it. If you want to make a noise, that's fine. But it's just a really, really simple thing that it's really hard to forget. I just have to breathe in and out of my nose. The out breath is longer than the in breath. I can remember that. If I'm starting to get anxious for 5 or 10 minutes while I'm doing other things, if I don't have the moment to really sit quietly, that's what I'm going to do. And so different breath work techniques create different things. For example, there's a breath work technique that's called like circular breathing or conscious connected breathing, where it's like I'm breathing in through my nose and out through my nose, but there's no pause between the in breath and the out breath. And when we practice that breath technique, what it helps us to do is like align us to love and center us in our heart of hearts. And so different breath techniques accomplish different things. And I would just say that, like you went on this retreat and you learned one and it's really helping you. I've been in like a really beautiful group for years and years where I've learned some of these techniques. There's no right or wrong. You just have to really listen to your own knowing.
Mhm,
I don't really, the only kind of breath work that I personally don't recommend is with the Kundalini rising,
mhm.
because I feel like it's really, really important to allow our soul and spirit and our, to work with us. And when it's appropriate for it to happen, whatever life that is, it will happen. But if we force it, it can cause, some inappropriate reactions that can actually set us back. So
Mm,
that's the only kind of breath work technique that I don't recommend. But again, I'm not a sage. This is just my personal knowing and experience from my years of study, and you have to make your own informed decisions.
yeah. Thank you for that. The Condoleezza, that one. I remember watching a documentary on something with that before. Again, that the retreat that was the first time that I ever went to a spiritual retreat, and that came on the after we finished reading a book called "Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life." And from that book, we did a 10-day book challenge where listeners joined into the group and we read and we took each chapter and we kind of broke it down, and there was different tools and techniques. And one of the things, one of the exercises that I had given the listeners was to try something new. And I knew myself going through this spiritual journey that I've been going through for about 15 years almost, is that I knew it was something that was missing. My body was doing, all kinds of things. And I don't want to be so subjected to medication. I want to find my own way of healing myself. And I've had several different guests on that talk about breath, but it never really connected. And so I had to truly go out and say, okay, what are we going to do? Now, what are we going to do? You having these migraines, you get anxiety attacks here and there. So what are we really going to do? So you have to go in intentionally into these spaces and places, knowing what it is that you want and your desires are. So that experience that I had that whole entire weekend was amazing, Arlene. It was amazing. And I was able to take pieces that I truly needed for me to be able to continue to just live life peacefully for my peace, or what it is for me. And that breath work happened. But I remember even being there, that there were several different people that had had other breath techniques exercise that were bringing them in. And it was like, no, let's work on this one first, and then we'll start to break down the other one. So when you talk about that one did come up in that whole thing. And there was, like, that's something, and I don't want to say sacred, but that's something that you have to truly be ready for, and in the moment, that you just can't just be doing it all the time. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was shared with me, and it just feels right to me because I feel like, we need to work with the energies. We need to work with our upstairs. We need to, I'm just a small part of a much greater being. I don't, I just, my goal is to be a little less wrong every day, and to step forward and to give and to serve and to do the best I can. And the inspiration I got and what some of my mentors have said is just not a good thing to do, and I'm happy to listen to the guidance because they're a few steps ahead of me. And so if it resonates, great. If not, that's fine too.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about now setting boundaries and celebrating victories. Setting boundaries are often challenging, but some are so necessary. What advice do you have for our listeners struggling to create and maintain boundaries?
Well, I believe we need to have clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries, and you need to decide what they are. The way I like to teach them is energetically. Um, Now you need to know what our boundaries are in terms of the way I guess the way that explain is that I might love a person, but if they have certain behavior that's not acceptable to me, the way they're projecting their energy, maybe they're trying to suck my positive energy or dump their toxic energy in my field, or whatever it is that I can see that's happening, or their behavior with another person that I'm right there with is not okay,
Yeah,
then it's perfectly okay for me to say, I love you, I'm going to leave.
yeah,
I don't have to stay in a toxic environment. Or, if someone is asking stuff that I don't want to do, we this is where I draw the line, and all that is fine. And we have to really know ourselves with and not, I guess the process is noticing if I'm, because I used to be like a doormat and a people pleaser. I thought I needed to do that to have friends. And so if we have those kind of patterns and programs, maybe coaching or counseling or something, if we can't do it on our own, will help us get out of that. But I really feel that energetically, part of the problem is that we really need to protect ourselves. And the reason being is that since we're in this body, it's anytime we're in form, we are connected with the mind of humanity, the mind of all men, all women, any groups that we've been in any time and space with men and women. And so there's going to be a lot of stuff in there that's not about love.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the feelings or the opinions or whatever that we're thinking, they're not even our own. So, I want to cleanse and clear those energetic connections that I have, um, that are going to be there because I'm in this physical body right now. And, I love to work with universal violet flame, which transmutes and transforms fear into love. And
Mm.
we can like flood our bodies and fields with it. We can flood our energetic connections that can't be cut with it, and just say, just flood it with it and have them be transmuted and transformed into love. And another thing that we can do is the only energy that we can clear, that we can transmute and transform into love, that we can let go of, that we can have an epiphany with and be different, is our own stuff. And if we're taking on other people's stuff, when I was younger, I would take on my son's stuff, or I would take on my friend's stuff. I didn't even realize I was doing it. And I can't do anything with that. So the kindest thing to do is that I'm releasing this energy that's not about me and not about love, for sure, back to them. Not because I'm mean, but because they're the only one that can change it. They're the
Yeah.
only one that they came in this life to move through that and transmute it into love and to let it go. And so I'm depriving them of their learning by keeping it in my field. And I'm also weighing myself down if I keep it in my field. So, I love to have like a beautiful golden bubble of protection around me. And I also like to like cut energetic cords around me that are not about love. Because anytime I have a reaction with somebody or interaction with somebody, energetic connections are established. So if
Yes.
I think of you or you think of me, there's an energetic connection. And
Yeah.
even though we might be pretty enlightened people, we're going to have bad hair moments.
Yeah.
Something's going to trigger us. And then all of a sudden, if I wasn't, I have like automatic cord cutting around me, just cutting those cords that are not about love. The loving ones stay. I'm going to all of a sudden feel crappy and I won't even know why,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just because I'm taking on someone else's stuff, and this person could really love me and really care about me, but we're human and we have these moments. So we need to not only set those clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries of whatever feels right for us in our lives, and notice if we're being a doormat or a people pleaser or engaging in other kind of behavior that's negating our boundaries. And if we can't do it on our own, to get some help to move through it, which is what I did, and then make sure that we're actually energetically, cleansing, clearing, and protecting ourselves.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. A lot of times we are very sensitive, especially when we on a spiritual journey. It's a lot of things that I do. I do a deep cleansing once a month in the beginning of the month going into. And so when you're like that, and especially when you're eating the high vibrational foods, you are very sensitive to a lot of things. And I remember when the first thing happening for me, I had to remind myself that this is not my stuff. And I had to really learn how to unlearn that you have to let this go. This has nothing to do with you. And you, like you said, you're unable to help others when you're bogged down with not only their stuff, but you're also trying to get through the things that you need to get to as well. So I thank you for sharing that with my listeners, because possibly they can hear you with a different voice or a different language that they can kind of resonate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess another a really poignant example was that one of my mentors told me many years ago that I was being really arrogant, is that I really loved a person and I wanted them to succeed, and they were having a lot of problems. And so I was doing everything possible so they wouldn't fail. And he said, Arlene, that's really, really arrogant of you. They need to get out there and have experiences of falling flat on their face and learn how to pick themselves up. You're not going to always be there. You are depriving them of their learning. And I was like, first of all, I was devastated that I did that to anybody. But second of all, it was a real process to let go of the attachment of making sure that they were okay.
Yeah.
And it was hard. But I guess the more that I let go, the lighter I felt. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much I was carrying on my shoulders because I love this person and I
Mm.
didn't want them to fail.
Yeah.
But I failed plenty of times. The people that are the most successful have probably fallen on their faces a lot more than anyone else. And I'm not saying that's me, but I'm saying I've fallen on my face a bunch of times. And I got so much learning out of it. I was depriving this person of it, but because I loved them, because I cared about them, I thought this doesn't matter. I don't know. My thinking was convoluted. And I just want to share with your listeners my learning with that because as I step back and allow this person to fail, they are a much more successful person in this life, now because they had that experience. And I am so grateful that I listened. Because lots of times we get some really good advice from people that are maybe a couple steps ahead of us, and we're like, nah, it doesn't apply to me. And this time I actually listened, and I'm so grateful. So
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah. I thank you for sharing that, because when you were talking, I felt that. I have three beautiful daughters. They're 10 years apart. I have a grown 30-something-year-old and a 20-something-year-old. And so you as a mother, and I'm speaking to mothers and fathers that are actively in their children's lives, once their children, they become adults, they're still our babies. We still want the very best for them, especially we want them to, what we know, we want to make sure that we're teaching and protecting them in every aspect of life. But you're right. I remember having to take that moment to step back and allow my daughters to go through their experiences and their lessons. So I don't call them failures anymore. I said, this is a lesson that you have to go through. This is the class that it was you was assigned to. And you have to see if you can pass this on your own. I can't come take the test for you, anymore. I can't do that. And you're right, and it's so funny when you say about the arrogance, we don't even think of it as arrogance. We just think of it as, this is our love for our children or our family members that we just do not want to see them fail. So we jump in front of that, excuse my language, the bullet, or we pull it up. And that's all it is. So I hope you listeners truly understood exactly what Miss Arlene was saying. And don't be hard on yourselves because this
No.
is nothing but a gift of love that you were giving. But there's another way that we have to do it. And we have to step aside to allow them to have that moment, just like we had that moment, to make you just as amazing as they are. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you.
Yeah, because a lot of the times the people that we incarnate with, we have the most to learn from. And some of them can be great mirrors for we can be great mirrors for each other. And when we step back and we can really acknowledge that and go, wow, I've been triggered by this person, but you know what? They are a great mirror for me. It can be a friend, it can be a family member, it can be a teacher, it can be anything. And when we see that and we're grateful for it and we don't beat ourselves up for this behavior because all these mistakes are they're just opportunities to learn and grow. The idea that we have to beat ourselves up for our mistakes, that's just another big false thing. It's a false flag. It's just an opportunity to learn and grow. And I also love to always share that practice makes permanent. So we're gonna have lots of times we need to tweak things or it just absolutely doesn't work. But so what? We're as long as we're learning and growing from that experience, and we're choosing if we start to beat ourselves up to go up. I promised myself I wasn't going to do that anymore. I'm going to maybe get an accountability buddy with another friend to keep me up on this because this is a hard one. Things begin to shift and change, and we can really look back and go, "Thank you so much for telling me I was arrogant." It might have been a hard pill to swallow at the time, but it was just like the best thing that ever happened. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it was an awesome thing that happened.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And finally, let's talk about celebrating. Let's talk about the celebrating of victories, big or small. Why is it so important and how can we start?
It's so easy to start, and I don't know why we get this idea that we have to complete this big goal. I have to be a speaker and get on the stage with thousands of people, and then I can acknowledge myself, or I have to write this amazing book that everyone is buying. But the bottom line is that we do, maybe what doesn't matter, whether there's a phone call that we need to make, or a letter we need to write, or something that we need to do that we're just like, we do that thing first, we get it done, and then we pat ourselves on the back. Job well done. And It's like everything else is icing on the cake. And all those little things we do every day, those are wins, those are victories. We need to acknowledge them. Acknowledgement is when we acknowledge ourselves, we are loving ourselves. And when we acknowledge ourselves, it's like the foundation for a more loving, compassionate life. It's a way to be kind and compassionate with ourselves, because what we tend to do is we get one thing done. We don't even acknowledge that we have certain things we're good at and go, not a big deal. Well, for somebody else, it is a big deal. For me, doing something mechanical in my car is huge. Let somebody else do it. I love to write. And from other people, writing is like, oh, you might as well pull out all my teeth before you make me do that. So we all have gifts. And when we acknowledge that, or we just acknowledge those little things we accomplish every day and find some way to celebrate them, maybe not in the moment, maybe we don't do a happy dance, but we do something later for ourselves. We get a manicure, pedicure, we go on a walk, or whatever it is. It just like it makes your heart sing a little bit. It really helps to change the direction of our lives, how we feel about ourselves, and how much we can actually accomplish in service to
Yeah.
ourselves and others on a daily basis.
Beautiful. I thank you um, for that advice, especially to our listeners. Like you said, they think you have to do something big in everyday life. The one thing is that I pride myself on doing is that even me waking up in the morning and doing my routine, that's discipline. And I commend myself for doing that every day. Just last month we had a topic about understanding the message, understanding and being open for messages to come. And when I tell you, there's so many amazing things that were happening in front of my eyes in real time that made sense for me to apply them to my everyday life, but also to share them here on this podcast. Before I will I will have all of my outlines and everything all together for the show. And last month it was like, no, God and the universe, like, that's not how we do it. We're gonna do it this way. And I was like, okay, I'm wide open. I just did I'm going through my 9-day fasting. So I'm open and aware of everything. And as it happened, it was a line, and it just flows so well. It would just flow so well in just this frequency that I'm on. It's just amazing. It's like you're watching things happen in real time. It's just woo. And just a little bit of things, just little things. I was celebrating. And I felt so full. And it was like, I want to give y'all this fullness of what I'm feeling to truly understand what it is. I said, a lot of times we have that self-critic in ourselves. And I remember after the first, going into the second week of the beginning, I remember having this more testimony moment. And at that moment, I saw myself before I'd never seen myself.
Wow.
That moment I saw myself, and I had to share that with the listeners, with my listeners, with my family here, is because this is a part of the journey. This is a part of my purpose. And it was so amazing that I allow my ego, my pride, my fear to get out of the driver's seat, or at least push my seat back and just trust it. You understand what I'm saying? And just trust it. Just waking up in the morning, fixing my bed. Girl, you go, girl. You understand? And that's what I love. I love that you emphasize, don't wait to write the book. Don't wait to stand on stages and speak. Don't wait to get that. Celebrate you just waking up in the morning and deciding anew. Every day is a new beginning. It truly is. Every day is a new beginning, but it's up to you to make the decision to live it as it is new. Yeah. Yeah.
That was lovely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. And we hear it and we hear it, and hopefully for some of your listeners, the penny, because sometimes what I found in my life that people have said the same thing over and over to me in different ways. People that I really trust, and all of a sudden, like the penny will drop, and I feel like the first time I ever heard of it, and I really get it in my heart, and I start applying it. So I'm hopeful that we said it in a bunch of different ways that your listeners are going to go, oh my God, I really feel that. I'm going to give that one a go.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one thing is that what I like, I'm gonna go back to the book that we read, Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life. And he talked about being repetitive and speaking and saying different things. And that's the one thing what I love about opening this platform up for guests, because we can be saying the same thing, but in different languages that might resonate with someone that didn't resonate before. As you
Mhm.
know, as you said, when that penny dropped, and I'm telling you that week that happened in real time as I'm speaking and talking about what I went through, it was like, wow, it just felt like it was like, oh, like a light that was moving. And I was like, oh my God, like I see it and I hear it and I thank you. And it just felt so full and just, and I won't say in the moment, because something that I've learned from just what people would think is such a bad thing, but I think is as a gift, is I appreciate presence now. I appreciate being in the moment now, Before, as I said, I'm a planner, outline, got my 5-10 year plan all together. But just learning now to truly live in the present moment and allow to be there. You learn so many different things because now you are awake. You're in that moment. You're not looking for any other distractions but now. And so it will truly help you for the future, and it will help heal the past. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, because if we're focusing on the past, that we can bring up depression or remorse. And if we're focusing on the future, it can bring up anxiety. We can deal with all those things. But when we're really grounded and fully present here now in this moment,
Yes.
which is a really skill that I had to learn as a coach.
Mm,
I've really, when I became a coach while I was still running my law firm, because I knew that I knew law school didn't teach me how to be a listener. And I
mm,
didn't know what it was I was missing. And what I was missing was when other people were talking, I was always thinking about what I was going to say. And when what coaching taught me, and what I also took like this transformational holistic counseling course, got a diploma in that it's from Australia, so I can't use it in the US, but it just felt right to do, is that when I'm fully present with someone, I'm not thinking like we're doing here, everything just flows more. And we
yes.
don't really know where it's going to begin or where it's going to end, but it's all good. And it's
Yes.
a whole different experience when me trying to think, you know, what should I say to this person so they like me or so they send me business? It's like, it was just like, it would give me headaches. It's like, thank you for the gift of coaching and learning, a little bit about counseling, because it, like what you're learning, and I'm not sure your path of it, there's all different paths to the same kind of place. It's just so much more enjoyable life than when we have to figure everything out. And it doesn't really work anyway. It doesn't work. At least it didn't for me.
Yeah, you are so right. You are truly right. Again, as I said, as I always say, is that when I have, as yourself, amazing guests on here, there are learning tools and experience tools that we get. Many times I've sat on what I call the couch when I'm speaking with my guests, and I love that. I love that every day that I'm opening to put in another tool in my closet, in my tool closet to use. You know what I mean? And I love that. And I love that. I truly do. So this is what I want to do right now. I want to just share with our audience what all that you have to offer, to them. Where can I find you at? And you can do that right now, Miss Arlene. Mhm.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. It's been really great being here with you and going with the flow and all that stuff. So, my name is down there. It's Arlene Cohen Miller. If you Google that, you'll find me all throughout the internet. There's lots of Arlene Millers. There's no Arlene Cohen Miller that I know of but me. My website is Jewel Consultancy, like the diamond. On there, I do have free um, videos about being calm and about leadership, and I also have a free blog. I do offer one thing to any listener who mentions that this podcast is that I offer a mini soul reading, which is me connecting with you heart to heart, opportunities, challenges, what's there for you. It's not a full one. It's just we'll draw a couple of cards, have a short conversation, just as something help to welcome in the year for you. And you can find me on LinkedIn and all kinds of other social media. Just Google my name and it'll all come up.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, again, thank you, Arlene. Thank you so much for just sharing your wisdom and your heart with us today. I've learned so much, and I'm sure my listeners did too. In family, if there is one thing that I hope that you can take away from today's conversation, it is that self-compassion. It is a journey, and every small step matters. So whether it's setting a boundary, celebrating a victory, or just simply breathing deeply, you are so worthy of the love and the care that you give to others. Again, I want to thank you for tuning into the Season of Self-Love. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps us to reach more amazing souls like you. So until next time, I want you to remember that you are worthy of love, growth, as always, and allow your light to shine. Have an amazing day. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovering and empowerment here at the Season of Self-Love podcast. Remember, embracing self-love is a continuous journey, and we're so glad to have you with us. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And don't forget to join our community on Facebook at Season of Self-Love. Connect with like-minded individuals who are also on their self-love journey. Now, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like for us to explore, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at seasonofselflove@gmail.com. and let your voice be heard. So until next time, take a moment for yourself today and remember, you are worthy of love, joy, and all the beautiful things that life has to offer.